7 bone-chilling new home horror stories that haunt you forever in a quaint little town, where the sun smiles on picket fences and the air smells of fresh bread. Whispers of unspeakable terror lurked just beneath the facade. This wasn't a ghost story told by a firelight. These were accounts of what happened when ordinary folks moved into new homes, thinking they had struck a deal with suburban bliss. But, oh, how wrong they were. The floorboards creaked louder at night. Shadows danced behind every corner, and the walls seemed to breathe. Imagine waking in the middle of the night to a soft lullaby, but it's coming from the old attic, where no one has been for years. The first tale spins around Claire and Joe, who bought a charming old house steeped in history. It promised a fresh start, a new family. But shortly after they moved in, things began to change. It started with lost items, keys that vanished, only to reappear in odd places. Then came the night terrors. Joe woke, gasping, convinced he felt a hand clasp his ankle from beneath the bed. Claire laughed it off, but the laughter turned hollow when their daughter began talking to someone named Gloria, a girl who had lived there long ago, but had mysteriously died. That it wasn't just them. Neighbors who had welcomed the couple suddenly turned cold and silent, glancing around as if they were afraid of something lurking in the shadows. The once friendly faces now whispered about the curse of the old Morrison estate behind flimsy hands, glancing over their shoulders as if the walls had ears. Every time Claire ascended the staircase, a chill would run down her spine, like icy fingers scraping against her skin. She'd always feel a presence watching, a heaviness in the air that was hard to shake off. Something was wrong, deeply wrong, and as night fell, Claire's dreams shifted into nightmares where her daughter was climbing stairs that twisted endlessly, calling out to a ghostly friend who beckoned from a distance. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. One stormy night, the winds howled like banshees, rattling windows and hearts alike. As Claire sat curled up on the couch, grappling with the chills that danced on her skin, she felt a sudden urge to go upstairs. Was it curiosity or fear? Could she bear to face whatever waited for her? With each step, the house groaned, shadows merging into darker shapes. And just before she reached the landing, she heard her daughter's voice, clear as day, a giggle that echoed in the eerie silence. "Mommy, I don't want to play anymore." Claire's heart raced. She froze, breath caught in her throat. What had she unleashed in this home? The air thickened with dread, the walls began to close in. What was waiting for her? What line had been crossed that night? Claire trembled, caught between the horror of what she might find and the desperate need to protect her family, and she hadn't even begun to understand the depth of what lay ahead. Claire forced herself to take a shaky breath, her heart thundering like a freight train in her chest. The darkness felt alive, pressing in around her, suffocating and eager. She tiptoed up the last few steps, her fingers trailed along the banister, cold and slick. It was like touching a spine. It sent shivers pulsing through her. The attic door loomed ahead, slightly ajar. A faint glow seeped from within, flickering like a dying star. Claire placed her hand on the cool wood of the door frame, swallowing hard. "Grace?" she called, the tremor in her voice betraying her calm facade. "Are you up there?" Silence, thick and impenetrable, hung in the air. Just as she turned away, doubt creeping in, Grace's laughter pierced through, sweeter and more innocent than she remembered. It had the reverberating clarity of a bell ringing through the fog. "Mommy, come play." Another laugh echoed in her ears, but it wasn't Grace's. The sound twisted like nails on a chalkboard. Claire's gut nodded. "No, Grace," she shouted, urgency flooding her voice as she pushed the door wide open. Inside, the attic embraced her with its suffocating gloom. Shadows pooled in every corner, and cobwebs swayed with the echoes of her heartbeat. Old trunks and boxes lay forgotten, their contents long abandoned. But there in the center stood Grace, her back turned, frozen among the dust and darkness. Grace. Claire's voice cracked with anxiety. She stepped forward, fear and love mingling in her chest. As if sensing her presence, Grace turned slowly, a grin stretching across her face that was far too wide. Look, I made a friend. Her voice was bright but laced with an unsettling chill, as if it didn't belong to her at all. Claire's eyes darted to the side, where a shadow loomed next to Grace, indistinct but undeniably present. It flickered, taking form a girl that looked just like Grace, yet somehow unsettlingly different. Dressed in a tattered white dress, with hair that hung in wild disarray, she smiled as if sharing a secret only she understood. A cold wave washed over Claire. Gloria, she breathed, the name escaping her lips like a prayer twisted into a curse. The townsfolk's whispered warnings echoed in her mind, growing louder, suffocating her reason. Isn't she nice? Grace clapped her hands excitedly, but the gleam in her eyes held an unnatural depth, one that Claire had never seen before. Panic surged. She had to pull her daughter away. Grace, come here. Claire's voice cracked as she leaned down, reaching for her daughter. But as she stretched, an invisible force shoved her back, sending her sprawling onto the dusty floor. Claire gasped, winded. No. She scrambled on her knees, desperation spilling over. You can't play with her. Gloria tilted her head, the corners of her mouth curling in a sinister grin. But she belongs to me now, her voice echoed, hauntingly sweet and mocking. She wants to stay forever. Claire's eyes widened, horror creeping in as she realized the true nature of the entity before her. The walls around her pulsed, and the shadows danced wildly, as if they were alive, craving something. A wild thought shot through her. What will you do to my daughter? She demanded, her pulse racing. The response came in the form of an icy laugh that sent chills racing down Claire's spine. Just wait and see, the world swirled. Claire's thoughts raced. She had to act, but how? The bond of fear shook her to her core. The house had claimed so much more than she realized, and now it was demanding a price. Terror clawed at her throat. Would she be forced to choose between saving her daughter and facing the darkness that pulsated through the house? Claire gripped the floor, her thoughts spiraling. But then, just as the horrifying laughter swelled and twisted like a storm, the attic door slammed shut behind her, sealing her fate. What would be the cost of her defiance? What price would she have to pay to reclaim her daughter from the chilling grasp of the unknown? Claire's breath hitched, the thick air swirling around her like a suffocating blanket. The world around her blurred, the flickering light casting shadows that danced menacingly against the walls. Panic surged in her chest as she struggled to grasp the reality before her. Grace, she cried again, reaching out. But the more she lunged, the stronger that unseen force pushed her back. It felt like trying to swim through molasses, each movement met with resistance. Gloria's laugh echoed, tinkling like glass shattering in the dark. Mommy, I like it here. Grace's voice was sweet, but layered with something sinister, like honey laced with poison. Claire's heart sank. It wasn't just a game anymore. With a newfound determination, she crawled closer, ignoring the shadows that seemed to writhe on the floor around her. No, Grace. You're coming with me. This isn't safe. She locked her eyes on her daughter's, desperately searching for the familiar glint of innocence, but found only an unsettling void. The air crackled with tension. Time stood still as Gloria stepped forward, a ripple of darkness flowing from her in waves. You can't take her, she purred, her voice oozing malevolence. She's mine now. It's so much more fun here. Claire's stomach twisted as she fought against the panic. You don't belong here. This is my home, my daughter. You can't have her. Claire's voice rose with each word, frail but defiant, like a candle struggling against a hurricane. In that moment, an unseen hand gripped her wrist, tugging her back with an iron will. Claire gasped, pain shooting through her arm as she was pulled away from Grace and Gloria's mirthless gaze. The attic seemed to close in around her, the walls pulsating with the dark energy, hungry for her submission. Join us, Mommy, Grace said, laughter bubbling from her lips. It was an innocent sound twisted into something unimaginable, resonating with a depth that chilled Claire's very soul. The shadows started to creep lower, curling around Claire like snakes ready to pounce. Dread wrapped around her heart in this moment. She was utterly powerless. The room spun. The very floor seemed to breathe beneath her, alive and eager. Just when despair threatened to swallow her whole, Claire caught a glimpse of something in an old trunk, half hidden behind stacks of dusty boxes. Her mind raced. There were stories, old tales she had read about the house, and that trunk could hold anything that could turn the tide. "Grace," she shouted, focusing on the one connection she still felt tethered to this world. "I love you. Remember our song?" Claire's voice trembled, but she pushed through the fear. "The one about the fireflies?" For a fleeting moment, the amused grin faded from Grace's face. Confusion flickered in her eyes. The shadows hesitated, and Claire seized the chance, dragging herself toward that trunk with desperation fueling her every move. Gloria sneered, the room darkening further. "You really think a song can save her?" The entity's voice dripped with venom, but Claire pressed on, each moment stretching like an eternity. With shaking hands, she opened the trunk, its hinges creaking ominously. Dust exploded into the air around her, momentarily blinding her, but she kept searching. Could there be something to sever the ties holding Grace captive? Amidst the rusted remnants and faded memories, a glint caught her eye, a simple locket. Heart pounding, Claire grasped it tightly. Would it be enough? "Let her go?" she screamed, holding up the locket like a shield. The shadows hissed, recoiling at the sight. But behind her, Grace's voice chimed in, sweet yet off-key. "Mommy, don't you want to join us? Forever?" The question hung in the air, taunting and alluring. Claire's grip tightened around the locket, her heart racing. This was a crossroads. She felt the tug of the dark, tempting her with promises of peace, of belonging. But at what cost? The shadows writhed restlessly, and the sound of laughter echoed like a haunting melody. Would she be bold enough to stand against it all for her daughter? "What's your choice, Claire?" Gloria hissed, the darkness swirling closer, closing in the air thick with anticipation. All that lay before her was a dark abyss, the price of her defiance looming like a specter, ready to exact its toll. But was there hope to grasp? Or were they both doomed to be pulled into the shadows forever? The moment Claire held the locket aloft, a flicker of light pulsed from it, cutting through the oppressive dark. It was a small consolation, a weak flame in a storm, but it was something. "I want to lose you, Grace," she shouted again, her voice rising above the cacophony of shadows swirling around her. Gloria's laughter rang like a chime in a graveyard, sending chills racing down Claire's spine. "You think you can save her with a trinket?" The entity's voice twisted the words into something grotesque. "You don't even know what you're up against." Claire felt her resolve harden. Fear was a ghost that whispered sweetly in her ear, begging for submission, but her love for Grace burned brighter. What was this darkness that tried to tear them apart? Why did it crave her daughter? As if sensing the shift in her energy, the shadows flickered, surging forward hungrily. "Let her see, Mommy." Grace's voice rang clear, full of innocence, yet there was a chill beneath it. "You'll feel so much better if you join us." "No," Claire shouted defiantly, straining against the tether that pulled her back. "I'm not choosing this. I choose you, Grace." The locket grew warm in her palm, a sudden surge of energy pulsing through her fingers. A brilliant light erupted, pushing back the encroaching darkness. The shadows recoiled as if burned by the brilliance, screeching in fury and confusion. "Foolish woman," Gloria spat, her form shifting, distorting as she fought against the light. "You don't know what secrets lie within that locket." Claire took a deep breath, the air heavy with the scent of dust and decay. "Maybe I don't," she said, her voice steady, "but I know love is stronger than any darkness." As she closed her eyes, she allowed the energy of the locket to flow through her, fueling her determination. "Grace," Claire called again, her heart breaking at the sight of her daughter, trapped behind an impenetrable curtain of shadow. She stepped closer, the light from the locket illuminating the cheery pink of Grace's dress, the tiny orange flower in her hair, reminders of happier days. Gloria shrieked, the merging powers threatening to tear her apart. "You don't belong here. You'll lose her forever." "Maybe," Claire said, her voice cracking but resolute. "But I want to give up without a fight." Taking a deep breath, Claire hurled the locket into the massive void of darkness that threatened to engulf her. The moment it left her hands, time seemed to stretch, and the world swirled around her. In that instant, She felt the ethereal connection between herself and Grace pulse stronger than ever. Footsteps thudded with urgency, echoing through the silence that followed. Claire sensed the shadows falter, quaking in the light of the locket's magic. Would it work? Suddenly, a force the familiar warmth of her daughter's love wrapped around Claire, pulling her back to firm ground. "Mommy." Grace's voice was no longer twisted. It rang with clarity, filled with plea and hope. The locket exploded into shards of light, cascading down like a shattered rainbow, tearing through the darkness that held Grace captive. "No!" Gloria howled, her figure fracturing under the assault, but Claire's heart soared in that moment. Hope ignited within her. "Grace, come with me." Grace reached out, and the shadows peeled away, revealing her true form, tears shimmering in her eyes. For a heartbeat, time froze. Claire drank in the sight of her daughter, her light breaking through the darkness. Then, without thinking, Claire lunged forward, but before their hands could meet, a deafening roar erupted, and the darkness clamped down, pulling Grace back as Gloria receded into the shadows, furious and unwilling to let go. "Mommy, help me!" Grace screamed. The sound sent shivers down Claire's spine, mixing desperation with sorrow. The space between them stretched agonizingly, and Claire was left fighting against the binding shadows that coiled around her like chains. Claire's mind raced. She had to get her daughter back. What could she do to save Grace from the entity that sought to destroy them both? Just as despair began to creep in, she remembered the stories, the whispers of old magic that could push back evil. Was there a way? The attic pulsed violently, and Claire took a step back, fear tangling with hope. "I won't lose you, Grace. I promise," she cried, determined to discover the hidden strength within the locket she'd thrown. And as she searched the dust around her, Claire felt the tingling of a new resolve take root. But every moment spent searching was another moment lost. Would she find the secret hidden within the remnants of that magic, or was time slipping away from her grasp? The air crackled with anticipation as Claire knelt among the shards of the locket. Her heart hammered against her ribs, desperate urgency coursing through her. The pieces glittered in scattered patterns, each reflecting the remnants of light that had once shone so brilliantly. "Think, Claire, think," she whispered to herself, mentally sifting through memories of the stories she'd heard. Legends of powerful enchantments and forgotten incantations whispered through her mind. With every second that passed, she felt Grace slipping further away. The echoes of her daughter's cries wove a haunting melody around her, each note tethered to a fear deeper than anything physical. Would this separation bring her to an end? The shadows writhed closer, tendrils snaking under Claire's skin, the chill tickling her spine. She ground her teeth, shaking her head, dismissing despair. "I need to remember." There had to be something in old saying, a charm, a flicker of wisdom passed through generations. Her mind raced through the old tales, raging storms, binding spells. But one stood out, a chant that summoned light and love to banish darkness. "By the bond of flesh and heart, I call to love to play its part." She began, her voice rasping but steady. The darkness fumed, swirling and surging in response, its anger palpable. She pressed on, each word a desperate offering to whatever forces listened. "Come forth, light. Ignite and bloom. Dispel this creeping, vile gloom." The shadows roared around her, hissing in protest, but Claire's heart pulsed with raw strength. She could feel the resonance of her soul intertwining with the incantation. She hadn't just chanted empty words. She summoned memories: her first kiss with Grace, her daughter's laughter, glimmers of hope woven through terrifying nights. The sudden hush fell as a beam of light sparked from the remnants of the locket, fiendishly bright, pushing back the shadows. Claire could feel it pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat, an echo of love defying the darkness. "Grace," she shouted again, her voice breaking. "Fight. I'm here. Focus on me." Through the oppressive void, she saw Grace's figure battling against the oppressive force, small yet fierce. Her child's will clashed against Gloria's sinister grip, determination shining in those emerald eyes. "Mommy, it hurts," Grace gasped, her voice tight with pain. "I know, sweetheart. Just hold on," Claire cried, amplifying her chant as the light grew stronger, wrapping around her like a protective cloak. Together, we stand against the night. Together, we'll reclaim our light. With each syllable, the shadows howled louder, discordant and violent, resisting the power of their connection. Gloria's anguished figure emerged, dark and writhing, her face a mask of rage. "You're too late, woman. This power doesn't belong to you. It belongs to me." But Claire stood firm, her heart pounding in sync with every pulse of the glowing light. The energy surged, filling the attic and inching toward Grace, a fragile bridge across the abyss. Straining, she reached out as far as her body would allow. "Take my hand, Grace. You can do this." For a moment, their eyes met again, a spark of shared love igniting in the gloom. "Mommy," Grace cried, summoning every ounce of strength, lunging toward the light. In this moment, every bit of love is a weapon, Claire yelled, fear and hope coiling within her. Would this love sever the chains binding her daughter? But just as they were about to connect, something shifted, an unseen force barreled through, dampening the glow, and Claire stumbled back, sensing the shadows closing in once more. "No," she howled, rage and fear swelling inside her. "This can't be how it ends." Claire's hands thrummed with charged energy, the brightness dimming but not extinguishing. Ignited by adrenaline, she scrutinized the scattered pieces of the locket. A cluster of words floated to the surface of her mind, like a lifeline. "This isn't finished. We're not out of time yet." She gathered the shattered remnants, determination flooding her heart. But would it be enough? A sweat dripped down her brow. She wondered if she could wield the light's magic from the shards, or if she was grasping at empty hope. Could she save Grace? Or was this a fool's quest against the malice of an ancient entity lurking in the dark? The shadows trembled, angry and alive. Claire felt the walls closing in, each second a ticking clock against her fate. Would she uncover the final truth hidden in the locket, or was she about to lose it all in a chilling twist of fate? Claire's hands shook as she fumbled with the shards. The chilling energy of the darkness poured around her, curling like smoke, searching for any vulnerable seam to exploit. Each piece of the locket pulsed with energy, and despite the fear that loomed in her heart, she felt a flicker of hope. "Please, let this work," she breathed, gathering the shards like a fragile puzzle as her fingers grazed the edges. A sudden warmth surged through her, flickering bright as if the locket were beckoning her. The light seemed to dance between her fingers, casting spectral shadows against the walls of the attic. Claire steadied her breath, allowing that warmth to guide her thoughts, racing through memories, envisioning her family whole again, laughter filling the air without the grasp of darkness encroaching on them. "Just a few more words, come on," she urged herself, recalling fragments of old rhymes. "From this locket, I call forth all love. Every bond bring Grace back to me." As her voice rose, the light swirled, latching onto the remnants of the locket, which glimmered and fractured even further, revealing intricate designs that had been hidden. The symbols twisted in the air, creating a vision that filled the attic with ethereal splendor, a tapestry of light. But the shadows moaned, furious at her defiance. "You're meddling with forces beyond your understanding. I will not let you win." Gloria's voice was like ice, cutting through the warmth, spiraling into a shriek that resonated through the rafters. The shadows erupted, tendrils reaching for Claire again, but she held her ground, the light now surging from the locket, barriers of brilliance forming between them. "You're wrong, Gloria. This isn't just magic. It's my love." That fierce declaration sent shockwaves through the dark, and Claire felt the walls pulse with energy, pushing back against the shadows. The room was alive, every creak and shift echoed the battle between light and dark. And then came Grace's voice, faint yet fierce, cutting through the noise. "Mommy, don't give up." "Grace." Claire's heart raced. It was the lifeline she needed. The shadows writhed angrily, the howl vibrating in the core of her chest, threatening to swallow her whole. But she couldn't let fear anchor her down. "Enough," she commanded, gathering every ounce of power she felt thrumming in her veins. "By the bond we share, and the strength of our love, I command the shadows to flee." Claire spoke as if each word was an arrow, piercing through the shroud of darkness. The light expanded, shimmering with the emotions running wild inside her, a mother's love, unwavering and fierce. The shadows shrieked, contorting, violent. The darkness flickered around her, and Claire watched as the tendrils hesitated, wavering before the brilliance. She could feel something shifting. Was it her son's voice calling to her through the shadows as well? "Mommy, it's so dark." The plea wrapped around her heart, nudging the fragments of her resolve. "I'm coming for you, both of you." Clenching the shards tighter, the light exploded outward, illuminating every corner of the attic. But amid the chaos, something snapped. An unexpected tremor coursed through the floorboards, twisting the light and shadows in erratic spirals. With a deafening crack, the shards began to shatter further, scattering like fallen stars. "No!" Claire screamed, lunging forward. The fragments scattered, and as they broke, each piece seemed to steal away a sliver of the light. The shadows surged, reclaiming what they lost, reeling as if they had been teased with freedom only to be pulled back into despair. In the tumult, Claire caught a glimpse of Grace, still fighting, her small body cloaked in shadow but glaring defiantly against the dark figure of Gloria. "Mommy!" The crystal in the locket. It's the core of the magic," Grace shouted, a flicker of realization lighting her features. Claire's heart raced. The centerpiece of the locket. The piece that could unite them all. But then the shadows reeled and assailed Claire like a summer storm, threatening to engulf her entirely. "Claire!" Gloria's voice twisted with contempt and triumph. "You cannot control what is meant to bind you." Her body trembling, Claire flung herself toward the nearest shard. The memories rushed back, each glowing piece reminding her of the love they held. "Together, we can break this." The pulsating light serenaded the darkness with unyielding force. Would she find that core before it was too late? Or would the power of their love shatter like the glass that surrounded her? As the shadows swallowed the room in an engulfing darkness, Claire faced the moment, poised between hope and despair. Would she grasp the heart of the locket in time, or was fate set against her from the very beginning? Claire dove for the shards, her heart thundering in her chest. The very air felt dense, oppressive. The shadows writhed in anger, a cacophony of whispers spiraling toward her. Gloria stood amidst the darkness, her figure outlined in a menacing halo, her expression a malicious tapestry of victory. "Despair is inevitable, Claire." Gloria spat, her voice a jagged blade. Each step she took resonated with that haunting fury, threatening to snuff out Claire's light. With a fierce cry, Claire gathered the remaining shimmering shards around her, the warmth pulsing like a heartbeat. "Grace needs me. I want to let you take her." In that moment, a memory flashed in Claire's mind, clear and glowing. Grace's laughter echoing down the hall, her tiny feet pounding against the floor as she raced toward Claire for comfort. That laughter was tangible. It was a lifeline. "Bring her back. Bring her back to me," Claire shouted, directing her plea to the shards. They felt alive under her grip, shimmering with hope and love. Light erupted fiercely from the fragments, scattering the shadows as if sunlight had pierced a midnight sky. The tendrils hissed, recoiling from the onslaught. Claire could see Grace, a specter against the inky void, her eyes wide with fear, but also determination. "Mommy!" Grace's voice rang out again, laced with urgency. "You're almost there. Just reach for the crystal." "Where?" Claire shouted, glancing around frantically, but the shadows shifted, swirling like a storm, hiding the crystal she desperately sought. "I can show you," Grace yelled, her shadowy form shimmering as if lit from within. "Focus. You don't need to fight them. Just remember." The shadows erupted with a deafening scream, a blood-curdling sound that vibrated through Claire's bones. It was a desperate attempt to throw her off balance, but she couldn't waver now. Closing her eyes, Claire took a deep breath, centering herself. She recalled the warmth of her children's hugs, the sweet smell of their hair after a bath, their smiles that lit up her world. "From this darkness, let light shine through, let our love bind us," Claire shouted, her voice steady and resolute. As she opened her eyes to face the chaos, the shards began to vibrate, a soft hum rising to a crescendo. The air thickened with magic, charged yet comforting, pulling her forward, toward Grace, toward that which she cherished most. Suddenly, she felt a pull from the center of the mayhem, a coaxing tug guiding her hand toward a singular shard that pulsed with vibrant energy. It was luminous and beautiful, like the dawn breaking through the night. "Grab it, Mommy," Grace cheered. The shadows around her temporarily pushed back from the brilliance. With renewed fervor, Claire lunged for the crystal shard, her fingers wrapping around it. A rush of energy surged through her, filling the empty spaces where fear had crept in. For an instant, everything froze. The shadows, Gloria's cackling rage, the haunting atmosphere, all of it became still. And then, as if sensing the shift, darkness elongated, pushing against the light in one final act of defiance. "Foolish girl," Gloria screeched, shadows snapping at Claire like starving wolves. "You don't know what you're unleashing." The room trembled, the walls shuddered, and Claire felt her hold slip as the shadows coiled like serpents, ready to reclaim their prey. "You can't scare me," Claire screamed, feeling the extension of Grace's spirit intertwining with her. "Our bond is greater than you can comprehend." In one fierce motion, she channeled all her love into that crystal shard, the essence of her family igniting with fiery brilliance. Light exploded outward, scattering the shadows like paper in a storm, sending shockwaves through the darkness. Yet, as the brilliance flooded the attic, Claire felt an unexpected chill wash over her. A shadow lingered at the corner of her vision, shimmering with an unsettling familiarity. Gloria's laughter echoed a final time, wrapping around her soul like a serpent. "Your love can bind the darkness, Claire, but can it break the chains?" Suddenly, everything around her began to swirl and pulse, the shadows swelling to form a silhouette. Claire gasped, breath hitching in her throat. Could this be Gloria's plan all along, or was there something darker lurking beneath the shadows? As the expanse of light began to retreat, a horrifying choice lay before her, one that could seal her fate forever. Could she save Grace without losing herself, or would this clash consume all she held dear? The light from the shards surged, illuminating the chaos around Claire. The shadows shrieked as they dissipated like mist before the dawn, but Gloria's laughter echoed, mocking and relentless. "You think you can trap me with love?" she taunted, a phantasm in the dark. Claire's heart raced. She could feel herself teetering on the edge of a precipice, where the light might lead to salvation or destruction. Instinctively, Claire tightened her grip on the shard, grounding herself in the luminous energy. It was her anchor, her tether to Grace. "No," she shouted, defiance fueling her voice. "You will not win." But the shadows were relentless, swirling around her like a tempest. Each tendril felt alive, whispering her fears, reminding her of every moment she had faltered as a mother. "You're not strong enough," they hissed softly. "You can't protect her." Each word pricked her with doubt, the shadows trying to seep into her heart. Claire felt that doubt pull at her like 1,000 icy fingers, but every flash of Grace's innocent smile fortified her resolve. "I won't let you take my daughter," she cried, fueled by the bond between them. The shard pulsed in response, lighting up the attic in a radiant beam that pushed against the encroaching darkness. Suddenly, a gust swept through the room, and the swirling shadows coalesced before her, forming the grotesque visage of Gloria, eyes burning with malice. "You underestimate what I can unleash," she growled. "You may have the light, but I am the harbinger of despair." With a flick of her wrist, Gloria sent a wave of darkness crashing toward Claire. It was like a physical blow. Claire staggered back, nearly losing her grip on the shard. The energy within it dimmed briefly, and panic flooded her veins. "No," she panted, drawing back, forcing the light to grow. A flicker of doubt crossed her mind. What if this was all a trap? But she realized then she couldn't let that thought win. She inhaled, another wave of memories flooding her mind. The scent of Grace's lilacs, the warmth of her tiny hand in hers. She conjured those moments, letting the light swell with every pulse of love. "From this darkness, let light shine through," she screamed, her voice piercing the clamor. The shard burst forth with energy, enveloping her in a cocoon of gold. Gripping the shard tight, Claire pushed towards Gloria. "You can't take what you didn't create." The air shifted, the heaviness lifting just slightly, coaxing a flicker of hope in her heart. But Gloria wasn't finished. "Foolish mortal," she hissed, a wicked smile twisting across her features. "You think your heart alone can save you? The darkness has weight, a power far greater than you know. You will pay for this." Claire felt the world shift violently beneath her, shadows clawing at the edges of her vision, scraping at her mind. She faltered for a mere moment, caught in the whirlwind of despair swirling around her. That's when she saw the glimmer of possibility amidst the chaos. "Join with me, Grace," she called out, the energy around her thickening with a suffocating heat. "We can break the chains together." As she reached for Grace through the borders of shadows, the attic twisted around them, reality warping. Time felt suspended, and in that instant, her love for Grace surged outward, almost palpable, creating a network of light, a connection that pulsed through the darkness. But Gloria, enraged, lunged forward, arms outstretched. "You will regret this, Claire." Claire's heart raced, and she could almost taste the tension in the air. The warmth of the shard faded for an instant as the shadows writhed with fury, threatening to swallow them whole. "Fight with me, Grace," she cried, desperation clawing at her throat. Just as the shadows lunged, Claire felt the energy swell back, a beacon against the dark, and then everything went black as silence engulfed her, a void that felt infinite. Where was Grace? She couldn't move. She couldn't see. Panic clawed at her, and she struggled against the oppression, feeling the remnants of the light inside her flickering dangerously, and then a whisper brushed against her, familiar yet distant. "Mommy, I'm here." Find me in that stillness. A thread of hope ignited in Claire's chest. She could feel it, pulling her, guiding her. But what awaited her deeper in this darkness? Would she truly find her way to Grace? Or was the abyss ready to consume everything? What awaited them on the other side was a question that loomed like thunder in the silence. Claire had to choose, not just for her own salvation, but for Grace's very soul. Would she find her daughter, or would she be lost forever in a darkness that promised to screen the world from their love? Claire felt the familiar whisper wrapping around her like a thread of warmth amidst the icy grip of despair. "Mommy, I'm here. Find me." It was Grace's voice, tender yet echoing with urgency. Suddenly, the darkness felt less suffocating, transforming into a pathway, albeit a shadowy one, that beckoned her forward. With every ounce of determination, she focused on those lilac-scented memories, on the warmth of Grace's laughter. "I'm coming, sweetheart," she called, forcing herself to move. The void shifted reluctantly, allowing her to tread carefully down a corridor of shadow that wasn't long before she felt the presence of the darkness recoiling, like a wounded beast sensing her ahead. The shadows' whisperings intensified, wrapping around her ankles, attempting to drag her down. "You think you can fight this?" they hissed, their voices a chilling symphony of doubt. "You're weak. You'll fail." "No," Claire shouted back, her voice steel against the cacophony. The shard pulsed in her hand, a defiant beacon of light and love. "You have no hold on me." The golden glow expanded, illuminating the tendrils of shadow that shrank back, howling in protest. But with each flicker of light, Gloria's malicious presence loomed larger in the darkness. "Fool!" she shrieked, her voice resonating with a malicious echo. "You think that light can conquer what you cannot even face? You are trapped, and soon you will realize, we are one." Claire felt the walls of reality closing in, the air thick with dread. "You're wrong, Gloria. I am not alone." The memories of Grace buoyed her, growing in strength as she summoned the energy of their love. "Find me, Mommy. I need you." The urgency in Grace's voice spurred Claire onward, each step igniting her resolve even further. There was a flicker deep within the vast dark, a pinprick of light that pulsed softly, seemingly filled with every ounce of her daughter's essence. She stumbled forward, the shadows clawed at her sides, trying to tear her apart. But Claire met each attack with the shard raised high. "For Grace. For love." She roared at the suffocating gloom, her voice echoing like an anthem in the abyss. The darkness howled in outrage, straining against the light. When Claire reached the glimmering point, she gasped. It was a small, hollow sphere of pure light, pulsating like a heartbeat. "Grace," she called, fear and hope intertwining like vines around her heart. The sphere trembled, and a figure began to emerge from within it, swirling and uncertain. Claire could feel the ancient shadows gathering around, drawn to this shimmer like moths to a flame. "Mommy," a voice echoed from inside the light, filled with soul-crushing longing. Claire's heart soared and then plummeted. "Don't let her take you." she warned, feeling Gloria's presence slink ever closer. The shadows howled again, closing in like a hungry pack, intent on snuffing out the light. Just as the darkness reached its icy fingers toward the sphere, Claire surged forward, thrusting the shard into the center. Together, Grace. We can break this. A network of gold erupted, intertwining with the sphere's light, an explosion of brilliance that painted the dark in vibrant waves. The shadows screamed in agony, twisting and wildly churning against the cascade. But then, in the eye of the storm, the glow flickered eerily. Claire felt a tug at her heart, an insidious whisper that drew her back into the murky depths. You can't save what has already been lost. Gloria's voice breathed against her as the shadows threatened to engulf them both. No, I won't give up on you, Grace, Claire shouted, determination blazing in her chest. But, as the shadows rose as one, a chilling realization crept into her mind. The bond between them was fragile. Would love truly conquer all? Mommy, help! Grace's voice echoed in the swirling chaos, blurring the thin line between light and dark. In that moment, uncertainty gripped Claire's heart. Could she really free Grace from the clutches of evil? Or was she opening a door that would lead them both to ruin? As the shadows pressed in closer, she could feel her strength waning, the light dimming ominously. Would this be the end of their fight? Claire faced the encroaching darkness, her pulse quickening, knowing that whatever decision she made would reverberate into eternity. But time was slipping away. What should she do next? The shadows surged, a tidal wave of despair crashing against Claire as she fought to hold onto the glowing shard. Her heart raced, the intensity of fear mingling with hope. I won't let you take her, she screamed, calling on the strength of every memory she had of Grace. All the moments that mattered, their first trip to the beach, the sound of her daughter's laughter echoing as they chased fireflies together in the warm summer night. Mommy, please. Grace's voice trembled amidst the chaos, pulling Claire closer to that pinprick of light. With renewed hope igniting within her, Claire concentrated on that light, feeling the warmth wash over her like a gentle wave. Together, Grace. We can break this, she shouted, feeling the strength of their bond pulsing like a drum through her veins. The shadows hissed, slithering around her, seeking cracks in her resolve. Love isn't enough, Claire. You can't fight what's destined to be. Gloria's voice pierced through the darkness, cruel and mocking, but Claire's grip on the shard tightened. Love is stronger than you know, she cried, the light bursting forth, illuminating the edges of her world, a fierce beacon against the encroaching dark. With all her might, she thrust the shard deep into the center of the light, and in that moment, a brilliance like 1,000 suns erupted, bending and twisting the shadows until they shrieked in agony. No. Gloria's voice shattered into a cacophony of despair. The glow intensified, enveloping everything in a radiant warmth that pushed back the darkness. Claire felt Grace's presence merge with the light of fusion of their souls, a promise that could not be broken. The shadows writhed, clinging to the last remnants of power, but the force of their love obliterated them, scattering the darkness like leaves in a whirlwind. Mommy, hold my hand. Grace's voice rang clear as her form materialized within the brilliant sphere, her eyes wide with fierce determination. Claire reached for her, their hands brushing together in a moment that felt both profound and fragile. The darkness howled, twisting in rage, desperate to reclaim what it had lost. It's time to break the chains, my love, Claire shouted, every ounce of her strength focused on their bond. She felt the light swell, every joyous memory they shared fueling the brilliance around them. The shadows coiled tight, finally reaching a boiling point as they surged forward in one last, desperate attempt to snatch them back into the abyss. You can't escape your fate. You are mine, Claire. You will always belong here. Gloria roared, her twisted form clawing forward, nearly grasping at the energy of their love. Not anymore, Claire shouted back defiantly, drawing in every ounce of love that existed within her heart. We are free. By the power of love, we are unbroken. She turned to Grace, who smiled, eyes shining, and together they unleashed their light in a fabulous explosion that resounded like a symphony of liberation. The air rippled, and waves of brilliance radiated outward, obliterating the shroud of shadows. All that darkness that had held them captive for so long melted away in an instant, revealing the hidden beauty of their world. And then silence. Claire and Grace found themselves standing in the attic once more, the shadows gone, the air fresh and light. The sunlight streamed in through the window, illuminating the dust motes that danced in the golden light. Every corner of the attic now vibrant and whole. Their eyes met, the familiar warmth of love surging between them, rekindling the bond they had fought so vehemently to protect. "Mommy!" Grace cried, and Claire wrapped her arms around her fiercely, their laughter echoing off the freshly painted walls, sweetness flooding their reunion. They were safe as they stepped into the sunlight streaming down the staircase. Claire hesitated for a moment, glancing back at the attic. Such darkness had once lived there, but knowing that they had conquered it together filled her with light. "Let us go, sweetheart," she said bravely, taking Grace's hand. "We have a whole new world waiting for us." With each step toward the door, Claire felt the weight of sorrow lifting from her shoulders. The whispers of the townsfolk, the curse of the old Morrison estate, they were just remnants of fear now. They had turned the horror into a memory, a tale of triumph that only strengthened their love. And as they crossed the threshold into the warmth of the day, Claire realized that the shadows would never haunt them again. They were free to build their dreams, and in doing so, they would bathe their lives in light. Claire turned to Grace. "Let us make our own fairy tales, okay?" "Promise, Mommy," Grace chimed, bouncing beside her an echo of all the hope and love they shared. The life they had dreamt of blossomed before them, shimmering like the sun up in the bright blue sky. Each needed to remember to hold on to their light, even against the thickest darkness, and finally, they stepped forward, hand in hand, ready to face anything that may come next. Before we wrap this up, I need you to listen closely. You need to subscribe now. Don't miss another moment of exclusive stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash the like button now if you enjoyed this climax. It really helps feed the algorithm. Your engagement matters, so flood the comments section with every reaction and theory you have. Lastly, don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible conclusion. Show your support for this community. We can't do it without you.